All right, what are we doing here? Don't know. So, Hunt the Wumpus. Guess I was supposed to announce this. Theoretically, I just announced that I'm going to play around with my Hunt the Wumpus game. So here's what I'm thinking. Hunt the Wumpus is cool. I spent a bunch of time on Hunt the Wumpus, but it's kind of messy. It's kind of hard to follow. I fiddled around with this a couple of days ago, and I got really annoyed with myself about all of these silly design decisions I made. So I'm going to futz a bit. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete everything and start over. So, of the things that I want to keep, I think I want to keep my POM file because those are a pain in the butt. I want to keep my README file because, well, you know, sort of describes what I'm up to, but I'm going to throw away the code. There are a couple of gems in there. I will lament their passing, but it'll be okay. Get rid of all of these tests. Let's keep... Which one is it? No, that's some stupid thing I was fiddling with. I don't need that. Shouldn't need any of these things immediately. Kind of want to make sure that I don't have to necessarily redo all the setup for Cucumber because it's a pain in the ass. These tests aren't necessarily the greatest. Some of them are very sad. And it seems like this guy's empty. How was I running Cucumber then? I don't even remember what that was for. Game steps is obviously empty. Not very helpful. Da, 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 da. Anybody who's actually watching is probably laughing at me. Anybody out there? Don't see anybody. Yeah, testing main. Populate maze test. Which of you little buggers actually has the steps? Are they all... Where did I put them? I just recall when I set this all up, it was a giant pain in my rear end to do these tests, which probably need rewriting anyway. But there was some sort of awful pain in my rear end around setting this up. And I'm trying to avoid... I don't remember how I avoided it, and I may just have to do it again. That's okay. This light is really blinding though. I'm going to be in the dark a little, I guess. Calling you bad. You would think it would be this cube test, but everything's commented out here, and yet when I run the test, well, now On the test, they're going to fail. Alright, we'll just throw them away. We'll figure it out as we go. Delete. Goodbye, tests. Now, some of these tests were not complete, but some of these tests were okay. We'll throw them away. We'll start from a completely blank slate. So anybody who's curious as to why we're doing this today, it's just for giggles. Alright, let's go to the README. What does the README say we're doing? So, yes, this was inspired by my friend Vivian's homework assignment. The original game was written by Gregory Yob back in like 76 or 78 or something like that. It stated here JRE 14, but I think I'm actually running 17 now. Let's go look in the palm file. What are we running here? 16. Alright, well, 16 works fine. We will change that to 6. Alright, so our game should play as Wump. When prompted, you should see something like this. Now, what I didn't like about the last thing was you got a room number. And those are boring. And I think in the original game, the rooms might have had names. So I think we should probably think about that. Is that the rooms should have cool names. So we might need a cool name generator. And then, yeah, move, prompted for where. So if I don't tell it where, it prompts me. And then the game. Okay, so cave by default. 20 locations in a flattened dodecahedron is the classic mode. Command line options, rooms numbered, specify more or less. Room 0 is a random number of rooms. A room has at least one exit. Exits are labeled by the room they lead to, may contain a Wumpus, a bottomless pit, or a super bat. This is actually a... Oh, I gotta go over here and change it. Sorry. Colony of bats. Wumpus will eat you, you lose, or run away, and the game continues. Emits a horrid stench. Only moves one room at a time. Bottomless pit. You will die in a tragic fall. Emits a cool, drafty breeze. And then what is now going to be called Colony of Bats, not Super Bat. Moves you up to room count -1 rooms away. The Super Bat Colony of Bats then moves itself a random number of rooms, emits a rustling sound in adjacent rooms. Hunter, the player, moves from room to room, can shoot to adjacent rooms, can fall in pits, can be carried off by a colony of bats, can be eaten by a Wumpus, can sense hazards emitted from rooms. And the rules of the game. If a player shoots into a room that does not contain the Wumpus moves to another room. Hunter has limited arrows. Command line option to set the number of arrows. 0 is unlimited. The default is 5. Crooked arrow or magic arrow allows the arrow to travel up to 5 rooms. Last time I didn't even try to implement this. There's some weird rules here. Option to keep track of lost arrows and then tell the hunter when they find them. I did implement that the last time. It was kind of fun to do. Alright, so, Hunt the Wumpus. Here we go. There is an article. Let me... pull that up in Firefox, which do that so you can see it. Right. So this article was written back in 2013 and has a link back to the original or the Wikipedia page. Right, and it describes moving and shooting in the way that I just described it. It's got a nice little graph of what would this maze look like, so on and so forth, right? So that's just informative. We can always refer to that if we need a little help. Alrighty. So where do we want to start? Let's review our POM file. So, I'm going to change this to my company. Why not? Except I'm not org, I'm a com. We're going to call the artifact Wumpus. This is version 1. We're going to use Java 16. We have the Maven compiler, Surefire plugin. We're going to use JUnit with Jupyter. We had to enable preview before. Might not need that anymore because we've jumped to 16. We're going to use logback because, you know, log for JShell. Not that we're worried about being hacked. We're not going to put this on the cloud or anything where people do real bad things. Alright, so we got JUnit Jupyter, we got Vintage, we got Cucumber, Hamcrest matchers. Pretty simple stuff. So let's start with the first test. What would that test be? What's the first simplest thing? So I guess, for funsies, let's start with main, right? Like, trying to remember how I started this before, and I should just like empty my mind and go all zen and try to figure it out a different way. New Java class. Let's start at the end and work our way backwards. So, this should force us in the right direction. Score display test, right? So we know that one of the behaviors of our universe. Yes, please add to the Git. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Delete. Delete, 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 delete. I don't think. Yeah. I did not commit all those deletes. Alright, so don't need to push yet. Now we'll go back and we'll say new Java class score displayed score display test. Call it score display test, that's fine. Always rename it if we don't like that later. So what do we do here? Test public void yeah, Maven wants an update. I'm thinking about names. I don't know what to call this, so we'll call it test for the moment. And what are we going to assert? So we want the score displayed. What do they show back here? I think they have an example. This guy's article is unfortunately like he gives you the answer and that's no fun. It's much more fun to screw around and just goof off. Especially if you're just kind of having a good time on a Tuesday. So, what do we think the output should be? It should be something like game over, because we want the score at the end of the game. Hunter and the number of Wumpuses killed. How do we say it? Wumpuses Wumpai killed. Wumpai scalps. Wumpai scalps. And, you know, like, I don't know, 2. Arrows remaining. 1. Moves made. You know, 60. I don't know. We're making up an example, right? So maybe we have this displayed in a nice little table-y format. It's the number of arrows remaining, the number of Wumpai scalps we've collected. Should we keep track overall of the number of times we played and how many times we died? We could like have hunters killed 0, like we didn't die at all, right? Something like that, right? So how would we test for this? So the first thing that we want to do is say, let's start with the obvious, the easy thing, right? Score header present at end of game. So we could say, I'm going to put that up top. So assert that double quotes, please, game over, followed by a new line, is in. Let's see, so this would really be call it play log via the output that comes to standard out. So play log contains that string semicolon. So we need to get ourselves some imports here. We want JUnits assert that. No, sorry, we want Hamcrest assert that. Import static method, and then this is always the hard part. I can never remember all these things. Hamcrest matcher contains. And so what is playlog? Well, that's a string. I don't know how we get it yet. And we need the game to play. We need to manipulate the state of the game to be done. It's always fun to start on the outside here and try to figure out how does this API for this thing work? And the answer is heck if I know. Well, we could just quit immediately for this one because we don't care about these values. We could just say, yeah, quit. So, we'll have a game. It'll be a new game. And we'll say game quit. And then we'll look at playlog. Now, how do we get playlog? Well, what if playlog was a giant buffer, like standard out or a log stream, where we were just capturing things? So, thank you for making this not easy Java, or less easy than I want it to be, because I'm thinking about this. This is where that helpers class would really come in handy. I think I did all this in the previous edition of this, but I'm purposefully not going to go back and try to steal it from the previous implementation. So let's do something like this, and then we're going to need we're going to need to inject a stream. So like if we did that into the game, assuming that the game is the mechanism, And then we could say something like, all right, system out is a print stream. Need a fake print stream. Output equals new print stream. What are you willing to accept as an input print stream? Probably something like new buffered. Been a while. Print stream takes any output stream, and I don't really need it to be buffered. New array. There's probably a sexy thing here. Let's look at Firefox for a second, and Java print stream to array or string or whatever. Alright, fine, I'm gonna go cheat. I'm just not interested in solving this problem. We're gonna go over here to GitHub. We're gonna sign in. We're going to open our Authenticator app. Let me just go ahead and hide my code from you. Not that having one of these is going to do you much good, but try to practice like a play. Okay. Show me my repositories. Show me the Wumpus. See, I'm pretty sure I did this previously, a long time ago, in my helpers class, where I did some sort of goofy. See, there you go. Capture standard out. We'll just go ahead and steal that right away because I don't feel like thinking my way through this. Haven't had a lot of coffee yet either. Doesn't help. So new Java class, helpers, and we'll go ahead and stick this in here. And now I have a new version of standard out, which is actually set to standard out, which means that if we use standard out, we're good to go. So now I can say byte array output stream. Out. And then I can capture standard out. Did I spell it out? See, that's how well my brain is functioning. Can't remember something for 5 seconds. We'll import that guy. Then down here we'll say out equals out to string. And that will give us our output. And here, I guess, you could probably just leave that out. That would be the quote-unquote simplest thing, right? Okay, so we need a thing called game with a what are you complaining about? I thought I imported this already. Okay, what are you complaining about? You said assert that into cannot resolve. Why do you keep doing that to me? Keep saying welcome to the chat room over here, and I don't know why it does that. It's distracting. Alright. So for the moment, we'll give ourselves a class named Game. Class Game. And class Game needs to have void quit. Doesn't have to do anything. And then we'll continue to fight with this assert that nonsense. I'm going to go cheat and look at Firefox real quick to see what I did last time because last time I did assert that with that match or assert, and then I used matches pattern because I was very smart. Yes. So we want a line beginning at, and we don't care about what comes after. And then we go back to give me that doggone assert that and run this. Should fail because quit doesn't do anything. Alright, expecting this but got nothing. Cool. So making progress. If I said system out print line, game over, and ran it again, it would pass, yes? Hey, look at that. So we get one passing test. That was sort of agonizing. I'm a little rusty, I admit. It's Tuesday during a holiday. Nobody's watching anyway, right? So, one of the things that I can see immediately is that I have this handy test, and it does this, and that's beautiful, right? Now, every time I run a test, I'm going to end up going through some variation of this, and that's going to be a pain in the butt. Because I'm going to end up doing this 5 times. So, this gets me into that whole moisture conversation of how do I write a test framework or whatever for these tests that's moist. It has enough content in it that you understand what the context of the test is without having a bunch of repeated boilerplate. So score contains a Wumpus scalps count. And you know, keep in mind that I just added regular expressions to our world, so we've tripled the number of problems we get to fight. But this is essentially the same test, except the regular expression is different, right? And that regular expression is now going to be Wumpus scalps colon some number of tabs, don't know yet, Let's just say 2. We'll use the number 0 there for this, I guess. And there's going to be stuff after me, but I could do something like that, I think. Let's try it. Might fail. Well, certainly fails, right? So, Wumpus scalps. Put a 0 in there. Let's see what we get. Now it says a string with the pattern Wumpus scalp 0, but got game over. Right? So, can't use line anchor, I guess. Dot star slash and Wumpus scalps tab dot star. We put the slash in. Run it. Okay, so as long as we quit immediately, game over starts at the beginning. We can do stuff like this. So we have 2 tests in a row that really only vary by this. And I don't want to have to keep running this over and over and over again, and I don't particularly enjoy parameterized tests, but maybe this is a case where we can say, look, the only thing that changes here, gosh, it's so not a big fan of the way that the parameterized test would look like because of the things, right? So public void score, I'll just keep thinking about it. I'll make a decision at some point here. Arrows remaining. Okay, so we remember from reading before that the default number of arrows remaining is 5, so we'll go ahead and we'll say this is going to be the default value. It's exactly the same bloody code, and that's just sad because it leads to the temptation of copy paste, which is what I just did. I mean, you saw me do it, right? Alright, this is fails. I got this, but I didn't get that. Cool. We'll do this, and we'll say, oh, and this was going to be Wumpi, not Wumpus. Wumpi scalps. Arrows remaining. Probably only have the 1 tab there. We'll make it the default. Again, I haven't written any real code to do this stuff because I'm still trying to sketch the outsides, right? I just am trying to get a sense of what happens on the outside. Okay, arrows remaining 5, so I got the arrows remaining 5, but it doesn't like something about my pattern. String matching pattern dot star, arrows remaining. First thing to check is your spelling, because, you know, I'm always bad at that. Run it again. What was game over / animal by scalps. Click to see difference. Does that help me at all? A string matching the pattern. La 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 la. Expected. Yes. Got that. You're not helping me here, Smalls. This is sad. This is embarrassing. I just want to stop. Oh. Maybe I need... I've got this slash in. It's one of those days. One of those days indeed. Could be. Nope, didn't help. Don't like how the matches pattern reports that it doesn't match. How many tabs did I have? One tab and a 5. One tab and a 5. And a new line. And a new line. And the word arrows is spelled correctly. And what if I take the N out of there? Do I get what I want? I really want to insist on that N being there, but... Run them all, Chief. Run them all. Okay, they're all failing. So I got that going for me. I'm sure I've just suffered some sort of head wound. I guess technically, well, no, because later there will be a thing. I was going to say technically I don't need the dot star on that, but I do, because later there will be a thing. I know, I'm anticipating, but... Why are you being angry? Alright, I'm baffled by this, so I'm going to back up one. Did those two pass? No. Take that line out. Do those two pass? So, that passes. What did I do? What did I do? Well, you know, it's early. We could change the rules and we could make quit return a string and then we could get out of all this system line crap. We could write one macroscopic test and say, universally this must be true, but that forces us to then write possibly more code than we wanted to write. We could check our spelling again. WMPI scalps. WUM. Wompi, wompi. What if we tried it like this? Maybe there's a problem with the way that we're wrapping that buffer. No, doesn't seem to care. Seems pretty angry with us anyway. It's probably all about the new lines. Because again, if we go back to that, our first test passes, right? Yeah, see, and then we say, well, there's our Wumpus scalps part. And that broke that, and that broke that. Arrows remaining is already broken. This is now broken. Alright. So I expected game over followed by dot star. Take the new line out of here. Does it help? Nope. You just don't like me. If I put a new line on the end. Okay. Just tell me that there's just something hokey with the regex here that I'm not seeing. This is a problem with regex always, right? Okay. So 1 by scalps count. I added the new line on there, and it got mad. Is it trimming the last one? Is that my problem? Is the last thing doesn't have the... That's probably it. Oh. Weird. So it seems like our 2-string here is taking the last new line off the string. So now it's just angry about arrows remaining. Right? I'll run it again. Make sure. Arrows remaining. Expected. Stuff followed by arrows remaining. It seems like I can put this new line back in here. It gives it a nice anchor point, and then I can say, do I see this? And it's still going to say no because we have to go back up here and put that back on. Like that. Now are you going to pass? And now you're broken again. Arr. What is it about arrows remaining? What am I not seeing? I need to mute my phone. Sorry about all the background noise there. We picked up an apostrophe someplace. Where did we pick up this apostrophe? Game over, new line, 1 by scalps, 2 tabs and a 0. New line, arrows remaining, a tab and a 5. And then there's an implied new line that we don't seem to be seeing. So if I say game over, new line, followed by anything, followed by a new line, it's fine. Why do I shouldn't need this last new line at all. Alright. Put that back in there. Take the Arrows remaining bit off. Run. Now only the arrows remaining fails, right? So a string matching the pattern. Dot star. New line. Arrows remaining. One tab. The number 5. And a new line is failing. So, put this in. Really glad nobody's watching this nightmare. That new line broke all 3 tests. So if I put a dot star new line there, does that fix that one? It does. Okay, so this is stupid because what we're going to end up doing is every line of output we're going to have to put that new line character in there. There's got to be a way to tell the regular expression matcher that new lines are just new lines. Is it because, oh, Richard, do I need to do that? Because regular expressions? I hate you, regex. I hate you with an undying passion. You make me very sad. Very, very sad. So, let's think of a different way to test this, because this is just agony. Let's not do it that way. Let's, for the moment, we're going to go back to just our first test. Nuke them all, right? Comment those guys out for a second. Take this back to here. This guy should pass. There's one remaining guy. Yes. But toString split on new line. And this is now an array. And then say something like game over. But we want play log 0. That's ugly. I don't like that at all. You want a string? Is there a split on char? No, of course not. And then this has to be okay, so that works, giant air quotes. So the next part of this was 1 pi scalps because we don't really care. Whatever number, right? And bring this guy back to life. I think earlier I had some reason I was going to use 0, but to heck with it. 2. Get rid of your regular expressioniness. This becomes an equal to. Open some quotage. This is going to be, we expect this on line 1. Fine, I don't really like the fact that we're requiring a particular order, but okay. Just a little fragilely. Okay, so those pass. So now this should be a little more naturalistic-ish, because I'm gonna our default 05-ish. Splitify. You're an array now. Okay, contains arrows remaining. Now we go up here, we say duploflate. Change this to arrows remaining. I think we said 5 down below. Run. Contains arrows remaining. Too many tabs. Okay, so now we can do the same for moves made. I'm just going to be super lazy and dirty and trashy and copy it. Moves made. I trust myself. I'm a fool. 3. I don't know, when those line up, how many tabs do we really think there are? Three tabs. 2 tabs, all right. So, 3 tabs here. And run them. That'll fail because we haven't added moves made. Yay! Being all nice and disciplined. Moves made. Whatever we said. What did we say? 60? 60. Alright. Score contains moves made, and then we need a hunter's guild. Test. Public void. Score contains hunter's guild. I can operate a keyboard, I promise. I've done it before. I think we decided we needed 2 of those. Hunter's Guild failed. Forgot to take the tabs out somewhere. 2 tabs, 2 tabs. Hunters killed, but was moves made. Forgot to change this. See, this is why I don't like this, because of this stinking array. I want to do like a containsy thing. Let us refresh our memory on matcher contains. I think contains actually does a lookup in a list. Hamcrest containing matcher. No, string contains jar sequence. And yet, I don't like your article, Mr. Dustin, only because I have to squint and read. Contains. Yeah. See, earlier we were trying to use contains wrong. Because contains is trying to say, does this array contain this thing? Contains string. Creates a matcher that matches an examined string and contains the specified string anywhere. So we could maybe make this test a little prettier. Because it's ugly. Ooh, that's just ugly. Alright, so let's try that. Let's go back down here to the last one that we just got passing. We'll get rid of the split garbage. And we'll change this to contains string. And get rid of the arrayness over here. And look at that. That's slightly better. Alright, I like slightly better. I will repeat. I will do this over and over. It will be good. This becomes contains string. One of these days I will remember all of the keystrokes. That looks like a Control R. Look at that, Control R. Now I don't have to move the mouse. Mouse movement. Such a waste. So, but I'm gonna, you know, go through each one of these. Contains string. And run them over and over and over again. And then to prove to myself that I've succeeded in doing the good thing, or the thing I wanted. So I don't know why I'm compelled, but I want my strings in any order I want them in, not something that some test is insisting upon right now. Because I haven't really decided, like, is this exactly how I want this to look, etc. And I've called out each one of these things specifically, each one of these string values specifically to ensure that if one of them changes, if one of them disappears, one and only one test breaks. Right? So I don't think I need to comment anymore. But I can prove to myself, run them one more time here, sing bang boom green. So if I decided that moves made was more important than one by scalps, all the tests should still pass. It doesn't matter what order I put these things in. And I could even move game over here if I decide that I wanted to produce game over at the end, right? Which is all well and fine and happy. So we, you know, like, obviously this is just scratching the surface, right, of, you know, how does the score get represented as an output. We have a loose framework for that. I've kept the game class inside of here for the moment because we're just kind of futzing about with this output. But let's see if we can clean up this bit. I hate parameterized tests. I think I've told you this 1,000 times, but it feels very parametery. So what if we said JUnit 5 parameterized test? I don't do parameterized tests very often because I don't like them. Thank you, Ali, for your example. Hopefully it's a good example. Jupyter, first impression, parameterized test, values. There we go. I remember this now, sort of. So I want to do one of these deals, and each one of these is going to become my input. So if I do this, boy, this is just sad. We'll try. We'll see how it goes. Let's do this before we go whacking away on that. Let's do a git commit everything in this directory. Starting over from score, very basic score tests. Commit. I don't care. Commit it anyway. What are you complaining about? Inner class game may be static. I don't care. Because I'm going to move that in a minute. Or I hope to. Right? So, parameterized test. Import. Happy days. Need a closing parenthesis. That will shut that thing up. And then I'm going to have to look at value source a little more closely here. But value source, how do you work? Value source takes a parameter provider class, value arguments provider, blah, 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 blah. Probably I can do something cool. I can say, moves made with 3 tabs and a 60. And I can say, WumpI scalps colon tt2, and I can say arrows remaining and a 5, and hunters killed and a 0, and game over. And do something like that, and then so I guess I could have left the test there. Just create a new test. Public void. I don't even think I need the publics, do I? Score contains string. Making the sausage. Don't watch me make the sausage if you don't want to know how the sausage gets made. Alright. Now, you're very angry at me because of something. I'm gonna have to go and look at how this thing works. Aha. Okay. No idea if this is going to pass or not, but it might. Ooh, it did not, because game over colon, bot was now we have a new mystery. Click to see the difference. But I see game over right there. There's the space missing. Good old typos. It's a perfect Thursday thing. And I'm not really sure I care about the colon. Should still pass. Zing. Oh, no test mathing. Score contains string. What are you talking about? Oh, I made a typo someplace. J-Unit Vintage is getting mad at me. Oh, why do you not like me, J-Unit Vintage? Because of you do not like the runner I have selected, apparently. Maybe this parameterized testing I just did is the wrong version of J-Unit. What do you live in? No, it's Jupiter. Weird. Okay, so now we've moved all the tests into this dreadful parameterized test thing, and now we have a problem in that as soon as we actually start generating scores, those numbers are going to get weird. So I'm going to take them out. I'm going to just say, hey, man, there should be Wumpy scalps and arrows remaining and stuff. But the values here we'll deal with later. Run. Still happy. Now, at least, I am not repeating all of that boilerplatey stuff, but I have lost visibility to the values here. That's okay. So, next thing. So, who's responsible for keeping score? Who's the scorekeeper? I think the game object. Yes? Sure. How does it keep score? I'm thinking about the game as a container. And this is a design conversation going on in my head right now. I'm thinking about this as a container. The game is a container. The game contains the maze, the hunter, the wumpuses, the pits, the bats, the arrows. It should sort of, in theory, know all the things, right? But when an arrow kills a wumpus, how does the score get updated? Does the score really belong to the hunter because he knows how many scalps he's got? Does the score belong to the game? Because, I mean, the hunter would probably be keeping score, right? But, and he would know how many. So you could get Wumpy scalps and arrows remaining from like his inventory, but the game knows how many moves are made, and then hunters killed is like the number of times the hunter dies, and the game knows about the hunter and should know when the hunter dies. So if the thing that kills the hunter, these two, this hunter killed thing is weird, right? I don't know what to do there. So I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to trim this down to only the essentials, only the essence of, right? Run those tests again. This guy was looking for the colons, so I guess we do want colons there. Run that again. Okay. This seems like a good place for a commit. Commit directory. Strip down test for score. Use parameterized test to reduce duplication in the test. Commit. You're probably going to complain about something. I'm going to commit you anyway. Alright, so what would be the next thing? So let's deal with the interaction of the game and the hunter with respect to the score. Maybe that will lead us someplace interesting. Alright, so test. Test. Haha. It's like a microphone test. Whew, 2 turntables and a microphone. Well, let's start. Let's borrow from Grenning, right? So he tells us do 0, then 1, then many, then boundary, then stuff, right? So hunters kills effect score by increasing Wumpy scalps. Because I don't know what else to call this. Assert that playlog contains string Wumpy scalps. I forget how many tabs we said. We'll just say some amount of white space. So we need to double backslash that because it's Java. We'll just say 1. We've killed 1. Except substring has to be a literal. If there contains string. Go back over here. You guys have been watching Firefox this whole time because there's nobody here to tell me you're not watching. Darn it. Well, alright, let me walk you back through it. So, what I did was I created a parameterized test right here. The parameterized test is the previous 5 tests reduced to a single test that takes these parameters and these strings in the value source, get pumped through the score contains string test, and it just validates that the output contains at least those strings. What we're doing now is we're futzing with, okay, so hunters have a relationship to a game in terms of score, where the number of Wumpy scalps is really the number of Wumpy scalps in the hunter's inventory, which implies that a hunter has some kind of inventory method or some way to get the number of scalps he has, or he or she has. And so I was going to borrow from this, and then I realized, hey, contains string is looking for literals. So, going back over here to the old list of things that exist on, so that, you know, like a whole item matcher thing, contains in any order, contains string. So contains string is doing a substring match, but it is not a regular expression. What we need is a matcher that works against a list or an enumeration and looks for things using a regex. Now we could say contains in any order with another matcher, where that other matcher is contains in any order. So let's try that. Probably getting ahead of myself, but that's okay. So we're going to say matches, regex. We're going to say contains in any order so we're going to say something along those lines. So here's where the difference will come from. Alright, now you're mad about something here. I don't know what it is yet. What are you so angry about? Not enough parenthesi? No. Contains in any order. It's a static method. Qualifies as a matcher. Oh, we don't need the contains in any. We got rid of the array thing. Ah, yes. That will make it happy. Contains in any order was looking for an array, and string is not an array, so it was mad. So, in order to make this true, we're going to need a hunter. And we have to associate the game with the hunter. So, game set hunter to hunter. And then hunter add inventory. Wumpus scalp. Ish thing. Oh, that got us complicated pretty fast. So I guess first things first. Class hunter. That was easy. Member hunter. Void set hunter. A hunter. Hunter equal a hunter. That's dull, right? Now this is where this add inventory thing gets silly. So I'm like thinking about the whole type primitive thing, and you know, I want to be damn sure I know what I'm doing here. So this is gonna be clumsy. Void add inventory. What in the hell is Wumpus scalp? Is that an enumeration of things that I can have in an inventory? Maybe that's what it is. So let's see. Enum inventory items. Wumpus scalp. Be an inventory item. Oh, probably not plural. And then, for some mix of crazy, if item is a Wumpus scalp, scalp count That's just some internal statey crap that we can initialize to 0, and then you need little exposing the guts there, huh? I feel like I'm spelling scalp wrong. That's a strange feeling. Scalp, as in a head thingy. S-C-A-L-P. S-C-A-L-P. Alright, so it's just Tuesday, I guess. Alright, so. We wrote more code than we should have. Right? This code right here shouldn't yet exist. Shame on us. We broke the rules of TDD. We anticipated. What is your problem? Something about vintage is messing with us. Valid test class. Score display test. Method hunter kills effect score. Should be public. It was not required to be public before. I'll make it public. Okay, so we're getting a really ugly output, but a string matching the pattern Wumpus scalps white space 1 was not found. So, Wumpus scalps. Down here in our test we've said we want to see some white space, but we didn't say how much, and that's fine because we don't really care. Somewhere we'll write a test that makes sure the output is all aligned, but for the moment we'll just put a single tab in there, and then we'll say hunter get inventory filter filter that down to things that are Wumpus scalps. This is why are you making it hard, Rich? Stop it. Stop. 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 Let's just get the scalp count. Hunter scalp count. Run. Okay, so we've discovered that we need to check for nullness if the game does not yet have a hunter, or we can decide that games always have a hunter. Probably easier to say games always have a hunter. Game, is that fair? Games always have a hunter, the hunter might not be alive. Hunter. This hunter. Evil hunter. Go to this test and say hunter. Spell hunter out. There's somebody watching. There's people watching. Doesn't make me nervous at all. Alright, so we're still screwing around with things like this. So we put the hunter in there. That guarantees that the game has a hunter. That means that this guy has to have a hunter. Hunter equal new hunter. Hunter. Armageddon. Yay! Now, going back to this test, it says there should be this thing. I probably got the regex wrong. I always get the regex wrong. Expected a string matching the pattern. Wumpy scalps. Blah blah blah. Wumpy scalps. Add a tab. So the one is there. I'll bet you this S is supposed to be a little S because I always get that backwards. Learned Perl like 27 years ago. Still can't get that right. We might need some kind of dot star action going here. I hate you, regular expressions. Yeah. Let's go to we know what it is. Let's just stick with what it is because those matchers are giving us a hard time, and I remember last time they gave me a hard time. There we go. So we're running all our tests. Everybody's passing happy as a clam. Woot. So now, Hunter's kills affect the score by increasing one by scalp. So we know that the scalp count went up to 1. I don't really have a test on the other side of that. So let's do Hunter kills affect score by increasing 1 by scalps. We could encapsulate that as kill a Wumpus. The hunter doesn't really kill Wumpai. Arrows kill Wumpai. Do. Yay, thinking it through. Leave that alone for a minute. Alright, so the silly thing to do, right, would be to repeat this test. Public, void, hunters, kills, effects, score. Hunters, here you go, We'll create the hunters. We said we were going to do zombies and then we didn't because we're dumb. So much fun to code when you have no plan. Public, void, hunter, without kills, score 0, Wumpai, scalps. Right? So what's cool about what we've done so far is it drove us into this games must have hunters. And I use dependency injection there because that allows me to use any old placebo, which is, at the moment, this kind of semi-useless thing with a weird enumeration that I'm not sure I'm going to keep, etc., etc., etc. So, if we do this same test, but we change that to a 0 and we take that away, it should pass, right? Yes, so there's our 0 test. Hunters without kills score 0 Wumpai scalps. Hunters kills affect score by increasing Wumpai scalps. Yes? Now, there's a many, and then there's boundaries and interfaces and exceptions and stuff. But what would be the exceptional cases? What would be the other things? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So we'll create one here, and we'll call it test. Public void proficient hunters have many kills. Affecting. Is it affecting or effecting? I think it's effecting. By scalp count. And then we'll just, you know, again, I'm being lazy. It's Tuesday. I'm on vacation. I'm just having fun. We'll say we killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Wumpai. And we'll run them all. Okay. Not super surprised, right, that came out as 5. Alright. So the other thing that we discussed as possibly easy was the number of arrows, because hunter arrows are easy. We could also do deaths of hunters, because we could start building up die. But that's a game context, and this is a hunter context. So let's stick to the hunter context. Alright, add test. I don't know. Wait a second. Before I do that, 2 things. Run that. Make sure they're all happy. They're all happy. I knew they would be. And then we're going to do a git, commit, rudimentary hunter kills accounted for in score tests. Sort of, yeah, but you know. Oh, you're complaining about stuff again? Whatever. What are you complaining about? Hunter could be static, yes, but I don't want it to be. Is this next one? Actual value parameter is always yes. For the moment, that's true. Field hunter may be final. Could it? But could you play the game over and over and over again and rejuvenate yourself? You're going to throw away the games? I don't know. I haven't decided. So we're going to leave that alone. All right. Could I clean this up a little bit? Because here we now have 2 places where we play the game. If I could somehow, like, pass you in as a block, that could be interesting. Thinking, accepting suggestions from the peanut gallery. How do I clean that up so I don't have so many of those? I'm really trying to avoid building the thing that does like all of that, because it's not quite the same, because you've got this whole I'm gonna kill some Wumpuses, and I really wish I had like a context like you have in Python. There's probably some cool Java thing I'm not thinking of right now. I don't have an answer. So, in light of not having an answer, I'll carry on until I think of the thing that I think is the smart thing. Really starting to itch about not having extracted these things, but let's see. So arrows remaining. Actually, arrows remaining could drive in inventory item arrow. So last time I implemented arrow like it was a thing and quiver like it was a thing. I tried to model the physical objects as objects, and that turned out to be folly. It made the code very hard to follow, and it was very flaky. So I'm trying to not do that this time, right? So let's play with some arrow things, and we'll continue to deal with our bumbly looking stuff. Public void hunters start with 5 arrows. But that's a hunter's thing. Well, that's right. I guess. I don't know. Get my boilerplate crap together. And so then this becomes arrows. Remaining. Really dislike that particular location for that test, but always move it later. Kind of still a little freeform. So hunters start with 5 arrows. String containing arrows remaining T5, but was moves made. Arrows remaining blank. Yeah, okay. So the next part of this would be a tab and hunter arrow count. Yep. And we need just enough on here to have an arrow count. So int arrow count. That'll run but fail because the count won't match. Yeah, so there's our 0. So then we say, well, there's our default. Cool. So, not super thrilling, but we've got arrows in the mix of the score. We're staying on the outside for as long as we can, but I think we're going to have to get into the nitty-gritty soon. Hunters expend arrows throughout the game. Again, for lack of a better naming thing, this will force us to think through. Let's shoot 2 arrows. How do we shoot? Hunter. Move inventory. What did we do before we did this? Add inventory, hunter inventory item. Wumpus scalp. Arrow. I think we said we were going to do that twice, but let's just do it like once, because once is enough. And this should be throughout the game. So go back up here to my hunter. Let's say void remove inventory inventory item, if, well, that's all we need to do for the moment. That gets us compiling. But we need arrow. Okay, well, compiling we're going to fail because remove inventory doesn't actually do anything. Right, and then, ooh, we got a stacky Tracy, but that's just a failing thing. Okay, cool. So now, if item equals inventory item, arrow count, minus minus. Hey, look, that works. Cool. So, I have really no conviction that an additional test is useful here, but I will add one. How about public void hunter can use up all their arrows. Same thing again, because we haven't come up with a slick way to make this not. Okay, we had 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should give me 0. Still need a better way to do this. Need like a closure-y, blocky, go do a thing over and over and over way, and I'm just not thinking of it. Bad Java programmer today. But sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I need to move forward. Alright, so we figured out how to monkey around with a hunter's arrow count. Let's start. It's making me a little uncomfortable that these things are so visible and stuff. So we'll start by making those private. I don't think that's going to impact anything. Then we're going to extract this class. Move inner class to upper level. Package name, class name. Add that. Now that's still living in test land, but let's deal with these guys. We're gonna need generate getters. And well, dummy. Generate again. Getter, and then go back to our test where it's going to be angry about this and change this to get scalp count. My friend Bill Wake would probably have an awesome way to have done that in a vastly less ugly way. Alright, so let's run them. Shouldn't have broken anything. Now, refactor move class from the test side to the main side in the same exact place. Refactorate, run again. Okay, no big deal. Hunter has just gotten relocated We were forced to expose some stuff. Now we got this guy Game. He has a hunter, and we might as well move him while we're here. So, first things first. Refactor, move up. Yes, call it Game. Do the refactor. Add it. Run the tests. No expectation of failure here. Now Game gets moved by refactor move class over to the main code line, refactor, run again, zero expectation of failure. Yay. Now, we have these score display tests that are kind of testing through getting me the score from the output. We could maybe push down to the get score method that doesn't exist yet. I wonder. That seems very complicated. I'm thinking about all of this boilerplate, right? I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, Hunter and Game, if I make them members, then the Game has and the Hunter have the same state between tests. I'd have to keep rebuilding them. I think there's a tag for that says make me a new one before every single stinking test. Or my play log get set. I feel like I want a fixture-y thing. I don't know. Sort of want this part at least up here done every time, so that I can get the out variable down here as a string. So it's just straight up play log. Or play log is like a member. But I'd have to keep clearing out. Here's an idea. Maybe. No, because I keep capturing standard out. Every time I capture standard out, I reset what standard out is before things run. So what if I'd use the before each? And then set. I don't know if this is a good idea. We'll try it. Before each. Void before each. I wonder if there's a test context bag now. Make this a field. No? Not make this a field? Refactor. Introduce the. Oh, I need a control on that now. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Okay, so I just made that guy a member who's private, who's set to nothing. Before every test, I'm going to capture standard out. Alright, let's run them all. Nothing should have broke. I should have shadow warnings down here. Okay. In this case, out is null. implying that before each did not run. Are my hooks messed up here? Clearly, I have my hooks messed up. Adds for boldness, because I checked the spelling of scalp. J Unit 5 before each before we were getting those silly warnings about publicness that we didn't think we should be getting. Maybe I need me some publicness. Silly Java magic annotation-y bits. Nope. Still didn't like this because out is null. Well. Go back over here and take a look at Firefox. Make width larger so we can all read along together. I mean, this is a nice simple example that I'm just validating that I'm not crazy. The old 404. Well, darn it. Starting to become suspicious of my implementation, but let's do something dumb. Ooh, we can't do system out. System error, print line. Here I am. Run. Here I am, here I am, here I am, here I am. But for some reason, I wonder. Looking real quick here now. What if I run? See, it's the vintage runner that's ticked off. This is what's bugging me. Alright, let's go back to our POM file and throw away that vintage junk. I think we needed that vintage junk to make Cucumber work. We're not using Cucumber right now. Let's get it out of our way, because it's just being irritating. Jupyter, vintage engine. Goodbye, vintage engine. I comment you out. Make what they're running. We're still running the vintage things. What am I forgetting or overlooking? here, J-Unit. Vintage Y. And clearly to tick me off, right? What if I throw a cucumber? And more cucumber. I remember going through this like last year when I started this whole silly game development thingy, and I seem to recall there was some funkiness about needing Jupiter in order to, or vintage in order to make Jupiter work with cucumber. There we go. Org J unit does not exist. Have I mixed my classic with my not classic? Import class. Now where's it from? Aha! We had the wrong API test. Now we make with the running. And there's much less confusion. And here I am is printed all over the universe. I feel much better. We'll worry about the cucumber bit later if we decide to do the cucumber bit at all. Alright, so now I can create a method like string playlog and say return out to string. Yes? That's not particularly exciting until I do that. Run them. I have made it one better. We'll run them. And unsurprisingly, it will work. Alright, so, slightly tedious, but you know, better than a sharp stick in the eye. Not by a whole hell of a lot, but better. Run them again. I like to sing a little while I code. Make up words, you know. Run that. I'm not the most exciting coder, am I? Wonder what I could do to be more exciting. I got one viewer sitting out there. He's not saying anything. I think he might be a bot, not sure. I don't know if there are bots. Maybe it's the thing that records the sessions. I don't know. Oh, he says he's not a bot. Excellent. Welcome to the show, Timixer. Glad to know that I'm not being observed by a bot. Makes me feel better. Out of coffee again. Alright, so that's a little bit better, but we still have this stupid problem with hunters and games that are like all over the flippin' place. So let's go ahead and escalate our hunters and games. Let's start with hunter. And we learned before that we needed to do it with the option key held down. And we want to say initialize in field declaration for now. Now Hunter is a member, way up here at the top. Yay! He's also final. We're going to fix that. Did we change him everywhere else? No. Dang it. You Weasley jerk thing. Alright, and then we'll do this guy. And initialize in field declaration. Why would I do it in setup? Who has a setup method? That's weird. I don't think that works very well. Alright, so now game is just a member of the class. Hunter is just a member of the class. game gets built with Hunter, but only on that last test, right? So now when we run the test, it's still going to pass because it all exists in the same place. What we want to do next is take these two guys, put them down here, get rid of the qualifiers. Well, I did that clumsily. / badly. So I've developed a little tendonitis in the right arm. And the tendonitis tells me I don't want to type or mouse very much. So I am sort of loosely focusing on the idea of learning keyboard shortcuts to minimize the amount of typing. Now when I run this again, it should still be okay. But I can go start doing this. Eventually I'm going to end up asking myself, have I cut too deeply? And because I don't have a pair here to tell me I've cut too deeply, maybe Timerix can tell me if I've cut too deeply and that the tests have become obscure or dense or hard to read. Okay, all my tests pass. That's fantastical. I've come up with a sort of silly contrived way to get the play log out. I've come up with a way to not have to reinitialize game and Hunter in every single test. So now all of my tests kind of look like act assert, no arrange. The arrange is done up here in this before each method, which is really just setting me up, right? So capture standard out says I'm going to turn standard out into a print stream wrapped around a byte array output stream, which I'm going to return. I'm going to put that back out here in out, and that then gets turned to a string called play log so that I can look at what happened during the play of the game, and then I can make assertions about it. And now no matter what I do in the game, these things should always still come true. They should always run in whatever order and it won't make any difference. They're kind of loose, but they're better than a sharp stick in the eye. And no more little yellow flags over here. Look at game. Game is kind of lame because game isn't really doing much other than futzing about with the Hunter and printing some standard stuff. What's your complaint? Hunter may be final, but we don't know that. Hunter may be final. Hunter may be replaceable if we say play again. Play again, because why would we quit the game? We would quit the game if, 1, we were killed, 2, we killed all the Wumpuses. We would quit. Or would we leave the user an option to decide to quit because they think they've killed the Wumpuses? But then how do they know how many Wumpuses there are? Well, I don't know. All right, we'll come back to that. So we have our sort of funky looking thing here, and you're going to complain that that needs to be all uppercase or something? No, you're just complaining that you don't know how to spell Wumpus. More actions. Typo, rename to save Wumpus to dictionary. Wumpus is now a word, as it always has been. Well, Timerix, let me ask you this question. You're saying you're too new to say anything of value, but that's not true. Everyone's opinion counts here. And in fact, your newness may be instructive, right? So you're looking at a test that I just wrote, and the test says Hunter starts with 5 arrows. Game quit. Assert that play log contains the string arrows remaining 5? Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I just read that and thought, that doesn't make any sense. Hunters start with 5 arrows, therefore The play log contains a string saying arrows remaining equals 5 after we quit. It's there's something contrived there. I don't know how to express it. And it's something like, this is maybe a bad name. Game reports Hunter's arrow count as 5. I don't know. We're not even to the cool stuff, though. That's the thing that bums me out, right? Is we're just futzing about with the little bitsy parts. You have enough noise with those compiler and ITE warnings. Fair. So we have a typo in the word Wumpai, which I think we just need to tell it that Wumpai is a word. Add Wumpai. The plural of Wumpus. Okay, problems in this file gone. I don't want to make you final. Stop telling me that. So far, always Wumpus scalp. Yes, true. I think we'll evolve out of that. Okay, got rid of a bunch of silly warnings about spelling. Make it final. Alright, I'll make it final. We'll shut the warning up. Make it final. Had no impact. Didn't expect it to. Convert to a record. I don't want to use records. For one, I haven't played with records. Do I want to make it public? I don't know that I need to. What would happen? Well, let's see what happens with convert to record. Field Game Hunter is private. Creating a particular public access weaken the visibility. Yeah, see? Contradictory, blah, blah, blah. I don't need a record. Yet. Maybe. Ever. Alright. Click up here. Click on the problems. No more problems. So, alright. Made some progress. Been fooling around for a while now. What to do next? Let's futz with. So we kind of got started on this add remove inventory thing. We never really remove scalps, but we do add arrows if we pick up arrows. So we could go down that hole, but that's like deep in the weeds, right? Or we could continue to fiddle with this. So like how many hunters were killed and how many moves were made. Let's try to figure out how to do some tests for moves. I'm going to split the screen in an attempt to create readability. And I'm going to say app test. Public void. If you quit immediately, there are no moves. Kind of going back to that zombies thing. Did I replace that comment about zombies? Yeah, it looks like I got rid of it. I'll search for the word zombie just in case. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Quit immediately, there are no moves. So, game quit. Assert that play log contains string moves made zero. Okay, so that's going to fail because we haven't done anything with moves. crazy back-end way to get in here. Right, but was moves made, carriage return. Alright. So we could do that. That'll get us passing. Go back to running all, because all is better than not all. Okay. Test public void. If you do we have a shoot? We don't have a shoot. This is the problem. This test might be a little premature. I don't know that we're going to get this working the way we want. But let's see. If you move once, does the game? Do you move the from the outside? The user said move, so we told the game to move the hunter. Who would I? Okay, so if you move the hunter, then moves increase. We don't have a thing to move, so game move. Move hunter. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. My previous experience is diluting my thinking process, I think, to do stuff that I did last time and not do stuff that I did last time. And alright, so that won't compile because there is no move hunter 1. Move hunter 1 doesn't make any sense though. Move hunter to what? This is kind of what happened to me last time, sort of, in that I got very quickly into, well, you need a mazy thing inside the game. Move hunter through exit 1, or is it exit 0? Now we're into a whole nother conundrum of readability and thinking about how do humans work and how do computers work. Makes us want to stretch our necks a lot. I don't think coffee's going to help. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. It's slaining. And I hate that method. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with a 0 for the moment, but I think I'm going to kill it off pretty fast. So, over here, we'll add a void move hunter through exit int exit ID. It's awful. It's dreadful. I hate it. Hate every second of it. I'm not going to go through the whole create a move hunter and then later discover that I need to tell it what exit. I know that. I know conceptually you have to tell it which exit to go through. We're going to have to get into a whole thing about I don't know where I'm going to store the moves or the move count. I think I'll just probably have like a move count method. But I don't know yet. So if I do that, then this thing compiles, I run it, it's going to fail because I didn't change anything. Yay. So let's just do move count plus plus. And private int move count. Doesn't seem likely that we will ever move more than int times. Probably lost the game if you can't get it done that fast. This guy says, well, moves made 0, but now moves made. I was looking for moves made 1, but moves made was this. So now we go back over here, and we say move count. Do you pass? Or if you move the hunter. Oh, got a typo. Moves. Yay! Alright, so if you move the thing, then the moves increase. Test, public, void, move more than once. That is counted. Two, because that's a terrible name, but whatever, right? And we'll just borrow this. Way too lazy to retype that. And right now it doesn't matter where you move. Okay. Interesting. Because this is why you don't copy tests, because then you do dumb stuff and you forget to change things and you're like, I'm wasting time. Yay! It's a pile of green. Alright, so we've got moves. Won't buy scalps, arrows remaining, hunters killed. We don't have hunters killed. So let's go back and we'll start with that. Let's do a little get action here. Get, commit, basic move counts. Not counting other moves like shoot, check inventory, look, etc. Not even sure I'm gonna do that, but I did it last time. Actual value of parameters, exit ID is always there. Yes, I know. I haven't gotten there. Leave me alone. Why are you picking on me? Still think Hunter could be final. I thought we made him final. What's the other complaint in this file? Oh, exit ID is never used. Well, yeah, we'll get there. Leave it alone. Tabaxer is taking a break. Bring me a cup of coffee, dude. Alright, so at test public void hunter's killed. If a hunter dies in the game, hunters, well, James Grenning would tell me that I should do 0 first, so I'll do that. If a hunter survives the game, hunters killed is 0. So we can just do game quit because we're going to survive. I have no idea how we kill things yet. Play log contains string. Hunters killed. Kilted is equal to 0. Run them. It's going to complain. It's going to say, no, they're not equal to 0. They're equal to, that string doesn't match. So we'll do that. Modify the string. Yea, verily that passes. So now we'll go to 1 hunter death. Public void if a hunter dies. Game hunters. Hunters was spelled wrong up there. Hunters killed is 1. The game hunters killed. Game score hunters killed. The game score. Alright, so hunter die, game quit, assert that, play log, contains string, hunters killed, 1. And it says, yea, verily, I can't compile because Hunter has no way to die. So, Hunter die. This is where it gets interesting, right? So, void die. Now I compile and I run, and it's going to be like, whatever. So that test failed for all the obvious reasons. So the same pattern would be to have like private int Hunter death count. Started at 0. Put it in here. It's Hunter deaths. So this one still fails because we haven't compensated for that. So now we can say, you have quit the game. It seems to be the only place to put this right now. It says something like, if Hunter is dead, Hunter deaths plus plus. Says I can't do that because I don't have an is dead. Boolean is dead. Return. Not alive. Private Boolean live true, live false, to run. Yay, verily, we're green. So what we did there was a little clunky, especially because why is this in quit? And how do I not duplicate? All kinds of thoughts. Technically, I want to make dead hunters like a set or something. I don't know. All right, we'll figure it out as we get there. So I think we've sort of exhausted all the things we can do to a score. Right? Because a score has moves made, won't buy scalps, arrows, remaining hunters killed, then game over. Now, again, we're relying on the fact that we're just using system out for these tests, which is a little weird, but that's fine. All right. So, given all of that, let's go screw with this move hunter thing. It implies that we know what the exit ID is. That's why we started. Is that the right thing? Should we really be moving through an exit number? Or should we be moving to a room? How would we know what the room is? We can isolate the behavior ish. I'm thinking. Let's get ourselves a scratch pad. Do we have a scratch pad already? We have a scratch text file left over from something. So if I have a maze, 1 is connected to 2, 3, or 4. 2 is connected to 1 or 5. I'm just making stuff up at this point. 3 is connected to 1, 4, and 5. 4 is connected to obviously 3. 1 1, 3, and 5. Well, it doesn't have to be connected to 5. And then I have a room 5 is connected to 3. So I have this map. I am a game. I have this hunter dude, and he's in one of these rooms. So H is in 1. So available exits 2, 3, and 4. So move to the first entry. Results in H2. H is in 2. So the thing that I passed in here was the enumeration of the identity of the thing. So it's the first one in the list, right? Okay. So is it really ID or is it exit index? Exit index. And then there's got to be all kinds of validation and stuff. So we need a structure or two here. So a hunter Java class. Move hunter test. Sure, go ahead and add that. Probably missed a git commit somewhere in here. I always do that. Test, especially when I'm just goofing off. Test. Yes, the connections between the rooms are bidirectional. I might have missed one in my scratch file. 1 goes to 2, 3, 4. 2 goes to 1, 5. 3 goes to 1, 4, 5. 4 goes to 1, 3. 5 goes to 3. I think I got them all. I probably screwed it up, but whatever. What I'm trying to decide is how to move a hunter. So last time I had this whole sort of hunter has a reference to the room that it's in. The room has a list of exits and occupants. So this move hunter through exit has an implied or implicit knowledge of what the indices of the exits are. Well, let's start with, there is no zero case, right? You can't not move. So, hunter moves from one room to another. How would we know this? So we would have a hunter. That hunter lives in a maze. I will probably make a room class. That's what I did last time, and it sort of made sense, although it got obfuscated into a weird situation where a room was a thing that could contain other things, and therefore an arrow quiver became a thing that could contain things, and it got all muddled, and that's why I'm rewriting all of this, because the previous implementation like way overdid the abstractions, and it got funny. So a hunter has to have some viable way. So how does the game know what exits the hunter can see? It either knows where the room is and knows what exit it has, or it asks the hunter, what room are you in? Let's keep the hunter dumber than a box of rocks. Maze equal new maze. So I did it smells like the previous one, but maybe that was because it was good. I don't know. Entrance equals maze. Get entrance. So how do I put the hunter in the entrance? The hunter is in the entrance. The entrance is in the hunter. Hunter, set room, entrance. Somehow the game is probably involved. This is, I think, the mistake I made last time. So game equals new game with a hunter. The game's gonna have to know about the daggum maze. Should probably be writing this test in the other direction. How am I going to generate the room connections randomly? Why not? Well, so there's two things, right? In the classic game, it's a flattened dodecahedron, which, you know, take a 20-sided die and flatten it out, right? And then every room has so many exits and it's happy. Last time I wrote a rather complicated maze builder that allowed you to do all kinds of cool, you know, let it be completely random, force it to be a flattened dodecahedron, etc. I think for the purposes of testing, I'm going to manually construct mazes that are ridiculously simple. And then later on, I'll get into the whole optionality of, is it a flattened dodecahedron? Is it a randomly generated maze, etc.? Because that's really entertaining stuff. But it's also, it's complicated. And I'm sort of following this path because I'm trying to learn from my mistakes and think this through better, right? So I started this project from somebody else's homework that I was trying to help them with, and you know, it quickly got off the rails and became weirdly obsessive, and it was a good time. And so I'm back at it because I'm on vacation and I'm looking for things to do, things that give me a sense of accomplishment but don't count for points in the real game. So Hunter moves from one room to another. So I need some rooms. Those rooms have to be connected. They need to be associated in some sort of a maze-like structure, but a maze-like structure is really just a pointer to any room with an entrance-ish. So let me think about this in these terms. This helps me a lot. Assert that. I start at the, how would I know? Hunter get room equal second room. Fair? Except I think equals is maybe deprecated. No, it's not. Good. Makes me question my use of equals 2 in the other test, but whatever. We're going to go back and fix it later. Alright, so in order for that to work, we obviously have to import our friend assert that, and then we're going to need a hunter. Hunter equals new hunter. And somehow we decided that games move hunters, hunters don't move hunters. Although we could say that the game is just a proxy for the hunter's move to where we handed a room. That's a viable option. Word that the case. So we're going to need second room. Room, second room. And so the way we were driving is to say, see, and this is where it gets complicated, right? So now game has all these crazy things that it needs to know about, and it just kind of, it's a giant pregnant cat problem, right? It looked easy, but it wasn't. So game equals new game who has a hunter, and game move hunter through exit 0, which would be the only exit in the to be constructed universe. So we need a room. First room equals new room, and then something like first room attach exit. How about just attach second room? Or is there some other external force that says glue these guys back together? I don't know. Way deep in the weeds, telling me I'm picking on something too big, probably. Might not have a choice. So at this point, at least in theory, this method over here could do something like, hey, room, give me your list of exits, use this index to find the exit, and then change where the hunter is, and then we're done. So this might actually sort of kind of work. So step 1, probably need a class called room. I'm just going to go ahead and create it up here where all the other classes live. Call it room. I'm going to say add, and a room we have. And then I'm going to go back to hunter, and I'm going to say you have some kind of current room thing. So private room, and I think we're definitely going to need the old getter setter action here. So generate. Please to give getters and setters, and I would like them just for the roomie. One related problem is that what? The wrong matcher, fine. Now, I'm down to one thing that doesn't exist, which is attach. Void attach room, other room. Now we're going to run our test. We're going to get a failure. Failure is going to be here, and it's going to say no. So some things that we're going to have to do. One of the things that we're going to have to do is put the hunter in the room. So hunter set room first room. Does it make sense that the hunter can be constructed outside the game? Why not construct inside the game? Well, yeah. So here was my thought on why is the hunter constructed outside of the game is, what if I wanted to keep the game state and you die at the end and you say, I want to play again and I want to play the same maze in its current state. I could create a new hunter, shove it into the game, and keep playing. And the game score would continue. And so that takes us back to our whole, the game score could report the number of hunters killed. That's sort of what I was thinking. And that was an idea that existed in the previous attempt at this. I shouldn't say attempt. I mean, you could play the other one. It just, the code was a pain in the butt. Because I did dumb things. Alright, so game move hunter through exit 0, blah, blah, blah. Fails because we got a null. Got to very quickly get to games need equality and compare to. But that's okay. We'll generate that stuff for now. So hunter set room, first room. So now the hunter's in the first room. And now I can go back to game and say, I think this works like Hunter, get room. This is violating the law of Demeter. Get exits. Get 0, or sorry, get exit index, which is that one, right? And that's a room. Not worrying about validation just yet. At some point we're going to have to, like, you know, does that thing exist? And then that exit, super simplistically, exit, Hunter, set room, exit. Now the room has no idea what's in it, other than it's going to need to know about exits. So presumably this is an ordered set. Minimally it's a set. Really stored internally as a set, and we can just return it as an enumerate, as a list of rooms. And this says return exits, where exits is a list of rooms. I gotta think about initialization. Rooms always have a list of exits, and I think somewhere in the rules we said a room must always have one exit, meaning no room can float around by itself. But new array list, I don't need the do need an equal sign. Okay. Yay, verily. Now I'm going to run it. It's going to fail, but it's not going to fail because... Yeah, it's still going to fail because attach doesn't have the bits it needs. We're going to have to go write a bunch of room attach type things. Yeah. Index out of bound for a 0 length thing. Which is caused by game trying to do this. And this is going to barf because those rooms don't have exits. So this is going to force us to add some kind of a thing that says if you're a room, you have to have an exit, which means that we always need at least 2 rooms. I smell a fixture coming on. But let's focus on attach for a moment. So the other room. So first thing we do is we say exits. Baby steps, exits, add other room, exits, because they're bidirectional, this, exits dot add, sorry. So as soon as I call attach, these guys get connected together. And so now I don't get this bit like I got before. So now move hunter works. Haha! Great success. But I've broken these because when I call move through exit, they barf because the hunter can't go through there. Now that's a game thing where I have to check that the hunter's room has that exit. So the first thing I probably need to know is, does the hunter have a room? Could I argue that you cannot create a hunter without a room? Probably. Where else does a hunter live? He's always in a room. If I did that, and a room always has to have another room, Mixer asks, when a room is an exit, it is always an exit independent of which room you are looking at it. No, not independent. So if I'm in room 1, I have a list of possible exits. 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's say I have, let's go back to our scratch here. So I'm in room 1, I have 3 possible exits. They are rooms 2, 3, and 4, but their indexes are 0, 1, and 2. So I say, from room 1, take exit 0, that would put me in room 2, and now I would have 2 exits from there, which are rooms 1 or 5, whose indexes are 0 or 1. Does that make sense, I hope? At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. Might be a bad way to think about it. So this guy's failing now because it's trying to move a hunter through a thing and it can't. So this actually leads us back to the question on move count. Even if the move doesn't move me, does it count as a move? Like if I make a typo? Sure, why not? Like that would be the easy way out of this problem. And so I could say something like, except I still go back to this hunter has to have a room. Right? Hunters shouldn't exist without rooms. So what if I did this? Well, it doesn't have to be public, but hunter, room, this room equal room. Now, the hunter I create here has to kind of have a room. Oh yeah, no, sorry. It's not the exit from the room. It's a room exit, not from the overall maze, because we don't even have a maze concept yet. So Timixer's asking, was thinking about a definitive exit of the maze. And that's an interesting thing to think about. What if you exited the maze entirely? Haven't thought about that. Right. Yeah, so we go, so the next question here was, but when, then calling them exits is irrelevant because they aren't, there aren't any other rooms you can reach. You can simply call them rooms. Yeah, it's room exits. So maybe what we need to do is change that variable name from exits to room exits, or passageways or something like that to indicate that we're not talking about getting out of the maze. Let me quick like a bunny. All right, so this is going to haunt us. We're going to do this thing 1,000 billion million times. So I'm going to take that code right there and somehow magically extract it, but it says I can't because multiple variables to return. Yes, I know. And this is thus born is the maze, maybe. But then calling them exits is relevant. Okay, yeah, same question. All right, so well, all right, I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna put it here. This will be short-lived. I'm gonna run my tests. That should shut up my broken tests. Ish. Yeah, maybe not entirely. Yes. So now, in order to create a hunter, I have to have a pair of rooms. Just like yo. So now I'm feeling like, because that's sort of gotten complicated, I need a fixture. So, over here, public static hunter don't know if I like this, but I'll try it. And then I can just say return, because I want a test hunter like that, and then I can just accept. I need the freaking rooms. In this case, I need to know who the rooms are. So, Python invades my brain and says, "You old fixture." But if the room links are bidirectional, I'm smelling that probably would be easier to construct another class, something like passage from room to room. Yeah, so the problem with passage in my head is that it's sort of superfluous, right? I have a room, I have my exits. Your room, you have your exits. Some of my exits are you, some of my exits are elsewhere. What does the passage class do other than I represent the connection that has no other attributes than you and me? So it feels like it doesn't do anything. It doesn't have any, it doesn't add anything other than another thing I have to construct in order to glue these bits together. But let me think about it. We could try that. Let me see if I can get this thing out of my head, which is I need. All right, so I had this dumb idea, so we'll throw that dumb idea away. I think I have to go back over here. All right, I already undid that. Okay, we're happy. So this thing does this. So in order to create a hunter, I have to have 2 rooms. In order to get those 2 rooms. So in Python, there's a handy dandy PyTest fixture trick where it knows the scope of the fixtures. Which kind of works like before. And so maybe my short-term way out is that this part just becomes part of the fixture. Yeah, let's do that. For each public void before each. Then we'll come back to this passage thing. I feel like before each has become a crutch here. I don't remember the shortcut. Refactor. Introduce field. Didn't look at the shortcut. Refactor. Introduce field. Alt. Command F. Meh, Mibs. Okay, cool. So now we'll run our tests. It's a little less clunky. Only a tiny little bit. This is very quickly going to become the maze builder. Alright, so Hunter moves from one room to another. There's my basic case. There is no such move that is a 0 move because there's no such thing as a room without at least one exit. But you have to be able to create a room with nobody assigned as an exit. Okay, fine. Leave that for a moment. Everything's passing, so let's do a git commit. Super simplistic hunter moves made by game. Yes, I know there are problems. So back here there was this whole thinking about, well, first off, we're violating the law of Demeter and assuming that a hunter has a room. We've established that a hunter must have a room because you can't make a hunter without giving him a room. So that eliminates an if. Then get exits assumes that there is an exit, so that's still a problem. How do you assure yourself that your room has exits? I don't know. And then get the index. Okay, fine, get the index. So what do you do? So here's some cases where we could fiddle a bit. So let's try. Let's make sure that we can. That this is always fun, right? Public void hunter moves from one room to another and back. Not exactly exciting, but a good check yourself safety treat thing where you can say at least in this case that should be true. Totally worth writing. So expected that room, but I got the other room. Now we get into that fun thing that I was talking about early on about naming rooms that you don't have to stare at this ugly crap. Alright, so well, first off, dummy, your test is wrong. I want to move twice. Now it should pass. Cool. But we do go back to the whole conversation about, well, what about rooms having cool names? Because that would be fun. I guess we can come back to that. So, hunter moves from one room to another and back. Hunter moved through exit 0, where exit is just a number, and we were talking about passages. And then this nagging bit about, well, what if the exit index you tried to use is bad? So let's do that test while we think about the other thing. Public void hunters don't move through non-existent exits. We also talked about renaming that variable from exits to room exits. You can make the passage class still, you abstract that thought, you can get exit passages. Okay. So room get exit passages. Yeah. Alright, so if I take this test and change this to a number that is invalid, first thing I want to be true is that I don't move. Now that's going to fail because index 1 is out of bounds. So we know that getRoom will always return something. GetExits might not have any values in it. So we'll extract that guy into a list called exits, and then we can put an if exits with parentheses, it's Java rich. I'm not going to mess with streams or anything cool like that right now. So if exits is not empty, oh, except I'm not checking for empty. I know it will never be empty based on a rule I haven't built a test for yet. ugly, but no. Index 1 out of bounds for length 1. Exit size. So the exit index is 0. I add 1 to it, it's 1, and then it's not that, and it should work. Passed in a 1, so 1 plus 1 is 2, which is definitely more than 1. Get this backwards. Exit size is greater. Might be time for a sandwich. Okay. I've done something dumb. Move under through exit 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Greater than or equal to. It's always the equal sign. Alright. So exit index is less than size. Probably works. Zero is less than 1. Under what circumstances would that not work? So, under moves through exit 1. 1 is not... Alright, so let's try it again, because... I don't know, I'm getting tired. Hunters don't move through non-existent exits when given many choices. And we'll play this game again, but what we'll do is we'll yeah, something like that. Pretty sure it works. Yeah. All right. So back to the conversation about we didn't check the other end of the boundary. So let's do that. I think it's fair to call them unnatural. Hey, here's silly. Yeah, let's take this turkey up here. Popped into my head that what we're doing there with the game is sort of redundant. So, all things being the same, game, move, hunter through exit -1, which clearly can't exist. What should happen? Well, I didn't move, for one. Later on, that's going to haunt us. What if the user inputs a -1? So the human being playing the game could type in move space -1, and we need to handle that. And we want, ideally, defense in depth, so to speak. But let's do this. All right, so exit index greater than or equal 0 and less than the size should get us passing. All right, and then git commit handle some basic movement from one room to another. Commit. Yeah, I know what you're saying about throwing the illegal argument exception, but do I want to catch the illegal argument exception way down here in the bowels of the system and throw an exception, which I despise, because exceptions are a pain in the butt? Or do I want to way up at user input, say, hey, that user input has to be greater than 1, or greater than 0, or equal to 0? So the human being is going to type in 1, right? Typically. You have 3 exits, pick 1, 2, or 3. I hear what you're saying about the exception. I mean, I could chuck an exception right here and just say, not allowed. Don't know. Thinking about it. Wife just texted me, hang on a second. We have lost a puzzle piece. Yeah, so does that validation actually belong somewhere else? Because if I take the exit index greater than or equal to 0 off of there, then that allows for the unnatural exit, and then I could say, well, if I'm going to take that validation off, then should I take the other validation off, and should all of these chuck an exception, which puts me into the case of now I have to handle an exception somewhere. Stylistically different thing, right? So tempted to leave it as it is for the moment and then come back and reevaluate that. I want to go back to the thought on passages and the names of things. So, like, let's go back here and say, well, is this a good name. Maybe if we can figure out the keystrokes. No. Boy, I might just have a brain fart on keystrokes today. Shift F6. Yes, of course, it's Shift F6. Why wouldn't it be? Do I want to change that to... And it's... That particular thing is hidden, but... adjacent rooms? And then get adjacent rooms. And then should attach. Become attach room, attach exit, I don't know. Well, yes, you have to handle exceptions to Mixer. You do for sure. The question is when and where. So if I don't have to have the exception, I can use some other indicator of the exception. For example, I can handle the exception way back when I parse the input by saying, is this input valid? Hey, user, that's not valid. And this system just absorbs the fact that you've given it crap input. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. I'm sort of torn today. Normally I have a very strong opinion about this sort of thing, but I don't know. It's Tuesday, it's vacation. So if I change this to adjacent rooms and say get adjacent rooms, then how does that other code read? Second row, attach room. Yeah, I'm just not sure. Still don't like this ugly thing. Still don't have a thing that validates that a room always has an adjacent room. Which puts you into this awful conundrum of how do you create a room that doesn't have an attached room. You have to, at least briefly, in the temporal context of the game, have to have a way that a room can have no exits until you create the second room. And then you get into validations and blah, 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 blah. Good fun. All right. Let's go back to thinking about tests for stuff. Bored with that adjacent room thing for the moment. So we've got this thing in game. We're debating whether or not we should actually guard move Hunter through exits. We could express it in a different way. So here's the question. All right, so let's go back and think about this. So you throw an exception because you've given me bad input. Those tests are still true in the sense that the hunter didn't move, even if you threw an exception. Right? Yeah. So, all right, let's try it. What the heck? I'm gonna have to somehow swallow the doggone exception. But take that line out. Take that line out. Now all those tests are gonna barf up an exception. Right? And we get a bunch of 3 guys over here who are angry. But we can eat the exception. Oh, Jupiter does this differently. JUnit 5, because I still don't want you to move. Even if you gave me erroneous input, I want to know that my hunter didn't go off into Never Neverland. I was going to build another set of tests after this that basically said the move count still goes up even if you do dumb things. Based on some stupid idea that even if you do dumb things, you should be penalized on your score for having done dumb things. JUnit 5, JUnit 5. I think there's some kind of a contexty thing here where I can do an assert that, but it's an assert raises. I can't remember. JUnit 5 assert raises. Bring you along on my fantastic journey to the internet. That is not doing what I want. Too many things floating around in my little brain today. Thank you, grammar. What I couldn't think of was assert throws. And then I get my little what thing and then my code, right? So I don't know what I expect you to throw. Do I expect you to throw index out of bounds exception? What did you just do to me? Don't do that to me. No. No. Rich, you need the word class at the end of that, I think. Now, I think I only have 2 failing tests. That works. It is ugly as sin, but it works. So, assert throws. Assert throws, index out of bounds exception again. Throws some squirrel edge around you, close you off. Be repulsed by your formatting. But it is less code. I can now put you in line. Current room. Room exit. Except that's not what I typed. Your final list does not matter to me right now. Personally, I don't like that whole thing with everything must be final. All your methods should be short enough that you don't need to think about it. Alright, so let's fiddle with now. Essentially, we want to take all of those tests we just wrote and also say move count increased. Move count is currently private and only visible through quitting. But I want to know that these sorts of things. So this gets us back to the don't test two things at once because you'll regret it later, buddy. Problem. Ooh, 4:30. I'm in the central time zone. I should think about stopping. And I think I forgot to eat lunch again. Bratwurst for dinner. So where were those other tests where we were looking at that? We were looking at the display score. Moving moves things. Moving changes your... moves made. So I think the test belongs over here that says test public void if illegal. If move is illegal, user move count still increases. And then we don't need two illegal moves, we can do it with one. And we'll put in a -1 because that's, we know that's illegal. And we'll put assert that. I feel like I'm doing something sneaky here, and I'm not sure I like it. Don't think I need these curly braces either, but that's a different conversation for the parser. Me and the parser can have that argument in a second. Normal. Can I or can I not? Yes, I can. Because there's only one line, I can use an expression lambda with no curlies. It's just this whole awfulness. Of boilerplate garbage. I get it. Parsers are hard to write. Been there, done that. Don't want to do it again. I think that was the last one. Yeah. Alright. To catch it and say problem is the input and not some other index out of bounds caused by a bug. Not sure exactly what you mean, but I think what you're talking about is something like that. So, I don't know what to do with that. My family just got home, kind of hungry. This has been entertaining. Everything's passing. Hi, Timmy. My dog showed up. New commit directory. Stop guarding legality of moves in game. Allow mix out of bounds. All right. A warning in room.
Hi, Dad. I got your clothes.
All right, I think